The top 5 spots decided by 2 kicks in the last 20 seconds of 2 separate games, plus all the reaction from some big name retirements. This is the round so far, brought to you by AAMI and Kane Corns. We've got to start this crazy weekend in Geelong. The Demons sealing their first minor premiership since 1964.
Yeah, we'll look at how it all went down in a moment, but what a day of football it was. Maybe the craziest that I can remember, and this was just nuts. They kicked the last 7 of the game, 6-0 in the last quarter, and Big Max Gawn, the captain, gives Melbourne the minor premiership for the first time since 1964, and of course was their last premiership. Look at the scenes. I haven't seen a group of players as emotional as this after securing the minor round premiership. So what a performance it was from Melbourne.
And this brought us back to what happened in round 1, 2018. Kane, same opponents, game on the line. He misses that redemption for Max Gawn. I think Brad Close would have liked his time again, the Geelong small forward, given what happened to cough up that 50-metre penalty that ultimately led to that final result. That's what you saw on the broadcast. This is what happened from behind the goals. Take us through this, because this is pretty damning on Rhys Stanley, who had a pretty good opening half.
Yeah, let's look at Rhys Stanley. Direct opponent is Max Gawn. It's a great kick from Jake Levy. We'll get to that. No body contact whatsoever from Stanley. He's on the back foot. Look, he's drawing back towards the goal. Max Gawn, you can see him point, I want it there. No one goes near him. He gets the mismatch. So Stanley looks around. He's complaining. He wants some help. No, you just go and play on your man. They had 2 extras back there. Rhys Stanley didn't want to go near Max Gawn. He was fooled by the kick from Levy. He was never going to make the distance. It was a really smart set play. Wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne hadn't practiced that, but you're right on Brad Close. Clear 50-metre penalty. The out of bounds on the full from Guthrie was also a disaster. And the whole last quarter really was just an absolute capitulation from a Geelong side that may have cost themselves the best shot at a premiership.
Well, they led the game by 44 points in the third quarter, Kane. Then the Melbourne Avalanche came. Take us through some of these moments, because the Cats would have had one foot on top spot already.
Well, it was just a tsunami that they could not stop. They were getting their forwards right up the ground because they were being forced to defend. They were so under the pump. Spargo there, he kicked a couple in the last quarter. All their smalls started to get involved. Their midfield dominance out of the centre bounce. That was where Geelong had the game completely in their control. In the first 3 quarters was out of the centre bounce. But Gawn lifted his numbers in the last quarter: 11 disposals, 8 hit-outs, 3 clearances. Got on top of Stanley, who had been reasonable up until that point. And then the Melbourne forwards, who didn't look threatening all night, were able to go to work on the back of just that clean ball that was coming out. And when you're winning it out of the centre bounce with the even numbers forward of the ball, much easier to kick a winning score. But yeah, what a performance. And they avoid playing Port Adelaide on their home deck.
Clayton Oliver had 37 disposals for the game. 27 of those were contested. Let's go to the last quarter. Paddy Dangerfield, 8 minutes on the bench for the entirety of the last quarter. This is pretty damning, Kane, considering he didn't touch the ball when the game was on the line.
The only player not to touch the ball in the last quarter. And if you're going to put your best player, top 5 player in the game, spend a third of the last quarter on the bench when the season is on the line and your premiership hopes are up for grabs, well, that's a massive mistake. Some clubs are obsessed by rotations, and that's what happens. You get the best player sitting on the bench for 8 minutes and not touching it in the last quarter. He lost all momentum. Hawkins didn't go near it in the last quarter, nor did Jeremy Cameron. You can understand supply issues with the forwards, but to have Dangerfield sitting there, with Selwood for a large chunk of that when it was winning time, it was just a massive mistake from whoever handles the rotations at the Cats.
The Cats kicked 5 goals in a row in 4 minutes earlier in this game. It was a massive game of momentum swings, and the Demons clinched top spot. Here is the ladder as it sits most of the way through round 23. The Demons will play Brisbane in the qualifying final. Port Adelaide to host Geelong. The top 7 spots are locked. So the Western Bulldogs will play Essendon or Fremantle, and Kane Sydney to play the Giants in that other elimination final.
Yeah, it's a great final series that we've got ahead of us, don't we? And, you know, Fremantle can still put some pressure on Essendon. And we know, as you said, what that last spot means. But what a final series we've got. The best round 23 or final round that I can remember, which has led us to this point.
Now, I don't remember a 38-point game like this ever before. Brisbane and West Coast at the Gabba. The Lions had the game secured through this match. Hugh McCluggage, though, trying to get the Lions to jump Brisbane into 4th spot. Kicks that goal. Dan McStay, the Lions just needed 1 point at this stage. He misses. Take us through it from here.
32 seconds, 30 seconds on the clock. You got to throw in. Ball comes out, ball comes back in. Link McCarthy sneaks that in by the closest of margins. They may have gone upstairs to have a look at that. But from that moment, then Charlie Cameron gets the turnover there and goes back and slots it. But on any other day, this would have been the craziest thing that we have ever seen. It was just so much drama. You can see what it means to the coach to get that double chance, to get the second opportunity in finals. You can't win it from outside the top four. So we'll get to the Bulldogs in a minute and the way that they have just coughed up one of the great opportunities to win a premiership. And there's the roller coaster from fourth to fifth. 9 times they were out of the top four before they got back in with about 18 seconds left in the game on the back of 1 point. You think of all the moments, all the goals missed throughout the year that has led to that, and the ramifications behind it was the most dramatic game that I can ever remember.
Phenomenal scenes up at the Gabba. Wanted to take you to one early in the last quarter. This is fascinating for 2 reasons. So the Lions trying to put pressure on the West Coast Eagles. You can see the margin there, 5 points. The Brisbane needed 3 or 4 goals at this stage. Jared Berry takes the mark here. Now the umpire calls player time on to continue the clock rolling. The clock doesn't go. What happens here, Kane, is 25 seconds elapses. That 25 seconds obviously proves the difference later on when Lincoln McCarthy kicks the winning point with 20 seconds on the clock. Then what happens from here is Tom Cole drags Jared Berry down and costs the Eagles a crucial goal.
Yeah, I think that was not a free kick. It didn't need to do it. It was undisciplined from Tom Cole. It was unnecessary, but don't pay free kicks like that. Umpires, please, that's a warning for the finals. There's no need to decide games with decisions like that. But the timekeeper got it wrong. Not for the first time in an AFL game. 25 seconds in a game like that is a massive margin. The umpire did everything right. It's just the person upstairs that sits in and amongst the champion data and the statistical keepers, there's 2 of them, forgot to press the button to blow time back on.
And that Tom Cole incident, I know it might have been pretty trivial, but it was a crucial stage of the game. The Eagles' season was still on the line. Had they have won that game, they would have moved to a chance of the top 8 pending other results tomorrow. Daniel Rich, Kane, take us through his game because he finished the home and away season as number 1 ranked kicking player in the competition and the number 1 metres gained player in the competition.
Well, this is what happens when you have undisciplined small forwards who go and chase kicks and they leave one of the most dangerous halfbacks in the game all alone. Look at this goal here. No one went anywhere near him. So what you get is you get 10 disposals in the first quarter, 9 kicks and 5 score involvements, and that goal there. He's just turned into what a career he's had. He's got a great niche for himself. Often the opposition give him no respect and you get kicks like that, which just releases all the pressure from your back half. I think he's defending better than what he has. That was a weakness in his game, as you can see there. But it's a lesson to anyone in the final. So Melbourne, when you play them this week, just give Daniel Rich some respect or he'll cut you up like he did to Adam Simpson and the Eagles today.
And just a quick one on the Eagles, Kane. They've lost 7 of their last 9 games for the season, as you can see here. They looked like they were entrenched in the top 8 and fell away really badly this season.
They got some big decisions to make, Mitch. Do they give this group one more opportunity to have another crack? They did that this year. It didn't work. They're going to miss the finals for the first time since 2014, as you said, with 10 All-Australians on their list. Their elite talent is as good as anyone. There's something wrong upstairs with the West Coast players. I think they've become very comfortable. A lot of them have got fat contracts. I don't think they're fit enough. They're banged up. They're wounded. They get injured. They miss a lot of footy. So does Adam Simpson and the list management committee at the Eagles give them one last crack, one last role for this group, or do they cut it now and invest in the draft? Because they've neglected the draft, gave away all their picks for Tim Kelly, haven't had a first-round draft pick since Jared Brander in 2017. Massive decisions. Going to watch it with interest. The list management calls they make in this off-season.
And absolutely to see whether they move any players on, any players of currency potentially at the Eagles to move higher up in the draft this year. Time to get to our AAMI clangers. Kane, the property stewards all around the competition have been doing a fantastic job during COVID, but this one from Harry Edwards just slipped through the cracks. He's got the different jumper on for the game at the Gabba.
He's got the blue eagle. The other ones have got the eagle that don't have any colour in it. I like the blue one better. Bash is just looking after his retiring teammate there. You don't want to have anything hanging out your nose when you've got the photos after the game. And it was a draw, wasn't it?
It was. Jack Graham, though, didn't seem to think so. He's under Nathan Brown there, Kane.
Yes. Might have to remind him about that. But also this, Kazitsky's just not happy. He thought that was his goal. Tom Phillips kicks it, and we'll have another look at it. He was spewing that he didn't get this nice mark in the goal square, walk-in goal, and you can see he's not happy about that at all.
It's not going to look good. He wanted the extra goal on his goal tally for season 2021. Back to Friday night, Kane, the Power. This is a thriller. They sew up a top 2 spot and a home qualifying final, but you thought it was going to be the Dogs when Adam Traw did this to put them 3 goals up.
3 goals up, you can see with just under 12 minutes to go there. They're celebrating. They had control of the game. Port Adelaide through Ollie Wines, who was enormous and has been all year. Did that sew up the Brownlow medal for him? I reckon he would have been in the votes. Travis Boak also. But then they kicked the last 3 to put themselves into the top 2, guarantee themselves that, and most importantly, knock the Western Bulldogs out. Travis Boak, he was massive. That was the second goal he kicked. You can see how much it meant to them. It just didn't look like this was going to happen all night because they were so wasteful in front of goal. They had control of the game.
Look at the numbers here.
Yeah, from the midfield, there's 4 Port Adelaide players that could have raffled that. It is one of the great chokes in recent memory what has happened to the Western Bulldogs. And you need to go through the reasons why. After round 20, they're first on the ladder. They finished round 23 outside the top 4. That Bailey Smith goal didn't go through with 5 seconds to go. Then they've gone and lost to Essendon, Hawthorn, and they kicked 5 goals in that Hawthorn game, and Port Adelaide by giving up the last 3 goals of the game to miss the top 4 and count them out of the premiership. No one's winning it outside the top 4. It is one of the greatest chokes we've ever seen in recent memory from that Western Bulldogs side.
The Dogs will have to play Essendon or Fremantle, whoever finishes in 8th spot. Luke Beveridge suggesting that is likely, or they want it to be, at the Adelaide Oval, dependent on whether they have to wait in the cricket nets like another teams have done this year. Talk about the Power. Have a look at some of these results this year, Kane, what they've done with games 13 points or less. They're 6-0 in that bracket.
4 wins under 5 points there and 6 under 13 points. So they've been the king of the close game. It says to me that it's an experienced group. It says to me that it's a team that's done 4 or 5 pre-seasons together where you go through all of these match play scenarios. How do we chase a win if we're coming from behind? How do we protect one in the last 2 minutes if we're up by under a goal? Ken Hinkley's been really strict and really disciplined by drilling that into his group. And that just doesn't happen by chance. So they're in good form. They're in the best form out of any team going into the finals. Set up for them. They'll be sleeping in their own bed for the next 3 weeks if all goes to plan, playing on their home deck and hopefully in front of 30,000 fans. So what an opportunity for Ken Hinkley and Port Adelaide to win their second ever premiership as a club.
They've won 6 straight, and the one on Friday night probably wouldn't have been able to be done without Robbie Gray, Kane. Have a look at these numbers. 8 games in his career, he's kicked a go-ahead goal in a Port Adelaide win in the final quarter.
It's absolutely phenomenal. And for a player who wasn't that reliable from sort of 30 to 40 metres out from a set shot earlier on in his career, he is now so reliable, points to the work that he's done on his goal kicking. And if Dustin Martin is the most clutch finals performer and best finals performer we've ever seen, Robbie Gray's not far behind. He's one of the most clutch players we have ever seen. And wouldn't you love to see him win a premiership? I mean, him and Travis Boak have toiled away for 15 years and got a little bit close when they first started and played in the grand final in their first year. Well, Boak did. And it's been tough going. You'd love to see Robbie Gray win a premiership. No one deserves one more.
And both had the opportunity to leave at various times throughout their career back to Victoria. The Dogs' ruck, it's been an issue for the last 12 months and it's reared its head again. This is Tim English, only attended 5 ruck contests for the game. He's in the same forward 50 with Marcus Bontempelli, a Brownlow medal contender.
It's amazing. He's had real issues with this, and ever since Tim English was concussed, he just hasn't been the same player. He's been ineffective. You've got Marcus Bontempelli, the best player in the competition, attending more ruck contests than his big ruckman. Now, that's a problem for a lot of reasons. So, Steph Martin, perhaps, I've seen you comment that he may be available this week, Mitch. Well, they need him, but the biggest issue is what to do with Tim English because, as I said, he hasn't been the same player. And if he's not rucking, why is he playing? Like, if he's going to 5 ruck contests for the game, he's not a real threatening forward. He hasn't kicked more than 2 goals in a game for the last 6 weeks. So why are they actually playing him in that side would be a biggest issue. And how's the confidence for him knowing that he's a ruckman, but the coach doesn't have any belief to put me into the ruck and he's preferring midfielders in front of me. So the psychological damage that would be doing to him as well would be hard to measure.
Steph Martin played more than 90 minutes in a scratch match today. I reckon the Dogs may just roll the dice on him for next week after a long layoff with injuries. Marvel Stadium tonight, the Giants lock in their spot in the top 8. Carlton finish in 13th. And on the same night when the Giants captain Stephen Kane was the medical sub, it was a forgotten man in Cal Ward who did a lot of the damage.
He was huge, wasn't he? 28, 14 contested possessions, 2 goals, including the sealer. He had 7 clearances, and that was where the difference in the game was. It's probably one of Carlton's more admirable performance, considering all the injuries they had out of the side, and we'll get to that in a moment. But plus 26, as I said, out of the stoppage, and that man was a key driver, along with Josh Kelly and the usual suspects. It was just one of those tick-the-box ones. They had to win, because it would have been really interesting if they lost. They did enough. And it's been a really solid year from Leon Cameron and that Giants group, who have had adversity all year with injury and been away from home. So to sew up a final spot is just one of the great performances, I reckon, of any team this year.
This is a really scary moment late in the game. Tom de Koning going out for a hanger. He's going to take some big marks in his career. Kane landed awkwardly here. And what happens from this was pretty terrifying.
Yeah, it was. You can see the players are so concerned for him. The trainers were straight there. They did everything right. From the moment they got there, they stabilised him, communicating with him. You can clearly tell he's concussed from the moment he hits the ground. But then what about this? The stretcher's right there. Get him on the stretcher. Get him on the cart. Don't let him jog off. We know how serious concussion is at the moment. Yeah, I'd expect a please explain from the AFL there. And just Carlton's medical team have had an absolute nightmare this year. And that was systematic of their whole year. I mean, apart from Wiedering and Walsh, all their key players have missed games and had serious injuries. McGovern, Curnow for 2 years, Cripps has missed footy, Mackay's missed footy, Martin, Fisher, all their good players and their really important players have missed footy. So the review has happened. You would hope they had a really good look at the medical department and what is going on with the problems they've had at the Blues.
And David Teague, post-game, pretty resigned to the fact he will be losing his job in the next 48 hours. His manager, Liam Pickering, said as much on SEN Radio earlier today. Eddie Betts, though, goes out after game 350, kicked 2 goals. Kane is a super career.
Yeah, we're seeing all these amazing players, Hall of Famers, retire in front of no one, which is not right, is it? It's not fair. But 350 games, yeah, definitely in the conversation as the best small forward ever. You have to go back a long way to find one better, to probably the Kevin Bartlett, and we can argue about Lee Matthews and what position he played. But as a genuine specialist key forward, has there been any better? Probably not. So we're talking Hall of Famers here, straight in, automatic inclusions, and we're going to definitely miss him playing. And from seeing him play in Adelaide, only Tony Modra has had a bigger impact in this state in terms of getting people excited to go to the footy. So hope he enjoys the next stage. There's a fair bit he's got to do as well, I reckon, and a massive impact he's going to make off the field when eventually he's ready to do that.
From one Hall of Famer to another, Lance Franklin, 6 goals in Sydney's win. He is our Saturday star. Kane, the Swans, their 15th win of the season, their best tally in a home and away season in the last 5 years.
Turn back the clock, didn't he, Mitch, from outside 50? Haven't seen him do that or have the confidence with the penetration in his kick from outside 50 all year with the injuries he's had. But yeah, he was almost unstoppable today. So 8 away. My warning would be, and I don't want to be a dampener on this, so he's 8 away from getting to 1,000. You could see how buddy conscious they were today, Sydney. So I hope they're able to remove the blinkers in a final. You don't want to have that distraction. You don't want to be far too buddy conscious. He draws the footy anyway. But having his teammates know that that milestone is there can force you to go to Buddy Franklin when he's not there or in a position to do so or outnumbered. I saw players giving off handballs from outside 50 today to try and get him that. That's got to stop in finals. It's about winning games of footy, not about getting players to milestones. He'll get there next year. They don't need to be too Buddy focused.
Now, as 2 weeks ago, we spoke about Callum Mills pulling out as a late withdrawal with an Achilles injury. He played, Kane. Second quarter, it flared again. This is not good signs on the eve of finals.
Just hasn't been able to get it right. They're so painful and they're really grumbly and they're really niggly. You try and get them. You've got to keep them warm, as you're seeing there. He's trying to warm up. He's doing his strength exercises there and he's trying to run, but he looks horrible. And it's not the first time he's looked horrible. So you can't put him out there like that. And one thing we've learned over hundreds of years watching footy, you can't take injured players in the finals. It rarely works. You're better off going with fresh legs, as brutal as that sounds.
Another retirement, Jared Harbrow, 261 games, finishing his career from the Suns after starting with the Western Bulldogs. MCG earlier today. Gee, when Jack Scrimshaw kicked this, you thought it'd be Hawthorn by how many in Clarko and Sean Burgoyne's farewell, but Richmond came with a rush.
Yeah, on any other day, this would have led our show. But this wasn't the craziest thing we saw. In fact, it wasn't even the second craziest thing. They kicked 5 goals to win the game. The last 5, there was 8 minutes to go. They were trailing by 5 goals. It is amazing. I mean, Clarko, you could see how much it meant to him to want to win this game of footy. You can see the frustration there. Richmond just turned it on for a period of 8 minutes where they were almost unstoppable. Jack Revolt kicked the last 2 goals of the game there to make it a draw. But what a bizarre ending it was to such a significant day for a couple of clubs.
This is Jack Revolt getting his toe on it. Look at the clock there. Only 7 or 6 seconds to go. Sean Burgoyne, he's had a few good moments on the MCG. Almost got there to save the win for the Hawks. He goes off an absolute champion. These are the scenes after the siren. Saying farewell to David Asprey as well. Finishes a triple premiership player for the Tigers. Bashahui didn't play, but he's also won 3 of his own. Fantastic scenes. Kane, you've had a bit to do with those 2 as well. 14
premierships by my calculations. My maths isn't great between those 4. So, I mean, it's not often you get to see 14 premierships go out on the same day. But, yeah, just phenomenal people, amazing football people, you know, the best coach that I've ever seen. And Sean Burgoyne, probably the most versatile player I've ever seen. He's played every position in an elite way, probably apart from the ruck throughout his, 21 years in the game. So, amazing, sad, but you just got to sit back and celebrate and thank those players and champions and coaches for all the memories that they've given us.
We go to the rest of the round, Kane. Fremantle, they can keep their season alive by beating St Kilda, but it all comes down to Essendon. If they beat Collingwood, they're into the top 8.
Yeah, and they should be good enough to do that, shouldn't they? A lot riding on it for Fremantle. I hope they make it interesting. St Kilda have got nothing to play for, so I hope Fremantle really do put the pressure on a really young Essendon group, and we'll find out how they're going to cope. But it's just been set up magnificently, hasn't it? All round. Everything has gone in a way that maybe we didn't expect. So hopefully tomorrow's the same.
This is our one more thing. This is what happened post-game at the MCG today.
From a silver lining point of view, is he's crashed my press conference again. Unbelievable. I think we're playing for ninth place.
You got it on audio there.
This is a world of sport coaches corner. You got both the coaches. Fire away, lads.
You've had a bit to do with those. Kane involved in a flag 17 years ago with those 2 men.
Just amazing people, amazing footy people. And it's good to see them relaxed with not the pressure. I mean, Damien Hardwick's been so wound up so tightly, hasn't he, for a long time. So to see him be able to relax and release it, he's a great character and he's a funny guy, as is Alistair Clarkson. And when they're allowed to do that, you can see their personality. So it's good for the fans to be able to see that side of them.
All right, Kane, that's all we have time for on the round so far. I'll see you next week, week 1 of the finals.
Good on you, Mitch.